Good afternoon, I am Precious Mzeya Sakaleshi. Welcome to Camnet TV Midday News. The headlines. Lusaka woman whose hand was amputated due to a fake family planning injection demands for justice. Case over pill stays BOWMAN and MALANJI case. Join me with the details after this commercial.
Did you know that Constituency Development Fund is a creation of the law? CDF was established by Article 162 of the Constitution of Zambia. Constituency Development Fund was first introduced in 1995 as a tool to facilitate the delivery of public developmental services like schools, health facilities, police posts, water, and sanitation points directly to the local communities. CDF is a mandate of the law and not a favor from the ruling government. For more information, visit our website on www.acazambia.org/CDF. Remember, CDF is your money. Take an active part on how it is used and managed. This message is brought to you by the Alliance for Community Action.
And now the media news in detail. Police in Lusaka Friday arrested and detained medical doctor Brian Sampa and 5 others, including 5 journalists, on charges of a lawful assembly after interrupting their anti-homosexuality march. The 5 journalists were later released after close to 4 hours in detention without being slapped with any charges.
With whatever you are doing here, the best that you can do, go to Ministry of Gender. Go to Ministry of Gender. How does the Ministry of Gender come? I cannot answer that one. Go to Ministry of Gender and register your complaint. So now, what you are doing is illegal because it is not, excuse me ma'am, it is not approved by the police. You go to the commanding officer. Did the commanding officer approve this? We notified not to get an approval. If there was anything that the police felt was not okay, you were supposed to tell us that no, you can't go on this day because there will be this thing happening. So we didn't receive any feedback and we notified the rest. We even paid at the council. So that's what the law requires. No, the follow-ups have been made. Every day. And you know what the police were doing? The police were refusing to sign on the letter that received.
Of brutality which we used to have 1 year ago. Mr. Hagain has been very clear. Let's engage each other. The police was supposed to engage. Somebody has notified you. Answer him there and then. What do? You arrest. And to make it worse, you go even to go and arrest journalists. And you know the stance of the president, even the party, that we don't encourage to harass journalists. Leave them, they operate free.
Nancy Mussonda, a lady who was allegedly injected with a fake family planning medication resulting in her left arm being amputated, has been discharged and recuperating from home. Ms. Mussonda has noted with concern how the imposter doctor who administered the drug is still being held in police cells, adding that the matter has not even been taken to court.
Nancy Mussonda was a bubbly woman and happily married with 5 children, with the youngest being 11 months old. She ran a number of businesses, among them a bottle store, and would travel other towns to sell second-hand clothes and fish. She is no longer doing her businesses as she emerges from her mother's house in John Lane compound after she was discharged from hospital on Saturday. She has lost weight and painfully recalls what happened on August 11, 2022, when she was at a bottle store in Chazanga compound. She recollects that some women in the area had recommended to her a self-proclaimed doctor who had been helping a lot of women and girls to avoid conceiving through contraceptives.
Na bwana wafunza mungapezeke na family planning ya 3 months ati nilinayo nizingati 20 kwacha au bwana munira seko ndemwe nangenera na weve mushopu pamene nangena nabeve mu shop short time wanabwera banuza na bwera short time bangena nishina makastomers babiri mu shop banabwera nishibafakira tu munkwala mu syringe so pamene banangena mu shop muja benzana nabwana tambika kwanja kuti banirase so uja customer nabwa bafunsa kuti nanga munkwala mene mufuno balasa ni munkwala bwanji babwa akambati uyu munkwala kuli munkwala wamene pala ni sako nobolo yankatia ifapala na chabe.
The 20 kwacha she paid the imposter doctor cost her her hand as it gradually started to waste away.
Pamene pajapeba na nirasa pajapa kwanja babwa papompeka papanga kwatira ikapute chinabwa cha pompeka che chikulu cha laundi nifuka chepa kliniki cha polika pajapa cha polika chezo cha sava green vonunka nde mwana wana nilembera emergency Kanyama hospital baenda mukunifinako banifinako pa Wednesday apo after banifinako babola wakambatu kabwere pa Thursday tikabwete kakilini na futi ninaenda pa Thursday naenda pa Thursday bakilinako na bwerera ku nyumba stupeni sienze kusira
She has wondered why the imposter has remained at Chazanga police station when he is supposed to be held in a prison.
Zapempache government initandizire ine mwenza sungira bana banga bakuma skulu bali na pama private sinizi bakutinza basunga bwanji nipempa kuli ba government banitandizire ine then uja muntu ine niganiza chamangiwe chifukwa ananipaya.
Her brother suspects that his sister was administered poison because her 11-month-old child almost died after being breastfed.
Kali punch time we ni omwana wakwe uyo oli mupa kulini alisa onka kuibere ili waonkele kuibere umwana alisa kwatto obwafya amba nokula poromya echalengere nabafyasha abana kashikushito omukakano kumunuisha.
Her mother has never recovered from having a breadwinner disabled and no longer providing for the family.
Nilipenda pokata bana. Na bakuja bakuti ni mpaze kuno kwacha kulipi. Ndio amenenzo nisunga ndio amenasunga na bana asunga na bafana bake. Inanipa ila mwana.
Nancy has left a matrimonial home in Garden House to recover at her mother's house. There are a number of self-proclaimed doctors in most densely populated neighborhoods of Lusaka. They claim to be specialists in pregnancy-related issues such as illegal abortions and curing sexually transmitted diseases, among others, using fake medicines. Frequent and random cleanups by authorities, especially in chemists, whose majority are operating illegally, will go a long way in avoiding the story of Nancy repeating itself. It's a painful lesson for all and Sundari. Tito Kalama, Camnet News.
The Zambia's Men Network for Gender and Development has called for serious action to follow those said to be practicing acts of sodomy. Various reports of sodomy have been reported to the Zambia police in the past 1 week, including that of 5 boys from an Islamic school in Chongwe district of Lusaka province and that of a male adult in Lusaka's Chawama constituency who was allegedly sodomized by his employer while asleep in his servant's quarter within the same premises.
According to 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 9, sodomy is against biblical principles that guide Zambia as a Christian nation. Statistics from the Zambia Police Service, however, show a number of such cases being recorded in the country or recent, among them the case of 5 boys allegedly sodomized from an Islamic school in Chongwe district. On Monday, 12 September 2022, the Zambia police also received a report from Chawama constituency where a man identified as Bright Simasiku 31 was allegedly sodomized by his employer Doris Ricardo 42 of Lilai area while sleeping in his servant's quarter at his work premises. Camnet News also recently carried the story of a 10-year-old autistic boy from Chunga compound in Lusaka who was allegedly sodomized by his 25-year-old neighbor. In response to these happenings, Zambia Men's Network for Gender and Development National Coordinator Nelson Banda says there is need to make a strong example of those practicing sexual abuse using sodomy.
So the minister must come on board and close down the school because it is no longer conducive for the learners to continue learning at that school. We feel that the well-being of the learners were not taken into account And this calls for the ministry to come in to probe what was going on and report the culprits to the police, so that those who are those who are responsible should be held to account for their actions.
Meanwhile, a clergyman, Bishop John Mambo, says there is need to close down on perpetrators, stating that these acts have become rampant after the Lusaka July festival, which was characterized by cross-dressing. He has further urged the church to lead the country in prayer against these happenings.
So there are a number of things, the July thing that you saw not long ago, where they went as men and say, well, we are promoting another thing, and then the next thing started seeing kissing. Open gayism, very soon we shall see open lesbian and things of that nature. It is very ugly for the country. And you cannot blame government all the time. We blame ourselves, I blame me. I keep on saying it's never too late. Let's go back to the mountain, confess and say we shall work for the Lord. You have that which has been abandoned, the house of prayer, where every October you are asked to do fasting and praying. Now we do that on a daily basis.
The clergyman adds that while 18th October of every year is the official day of fasting and prayer for the country, the church should pray every day for Mother Zambia. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Court of Appeal has ordered that the proceedings before the Lusaka High Court commenced by former Kabushi Member of Parliament BOWMAN and his counterpart, former Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji, be stayed. In an ex parte order, the court has granted the state and the Electoral Commission of Zambia that the matter be stayed pending determination.
After putting up a spirited fight to ensure that they are allowed to recontest in the Kabushi and Kwacha constituency by-elections, Mr. BOWMAN and his counterpart Joseph Malanji now put their hope in the Lusaka High Court to give them a second bite at the cherry. The former Kabushi Member of Parliament BOWMAN and his counterpart, former Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji, have pleaded with the court to quash the decision by the Electoral Commission of Zambia's agent for the two constituencies to reject and declare their nomination as unsuccessful. When the matter came up for hearing of the petition before three High Court judges, Sharon Newa, Mwapewa and Catherine Lombepiri, the state, through Solicitor General Masho Mchende, insisted that the Constitutional Court, in its judgment dated the 7th of September 2022, did not declare that the duo were eligible to recontest the by-elections when it declared that ECZ was wrong to reject their nomination papers. The Solicitor General submits that the duo's nominations were accepted by the returning officers on the 25th of August 2022, but the same were rendered invalid, adding that the prayers before the High Court by the petitioners should have been for a declaration whether their nominations were valid or not, and not for a declaration that the two were eligible. The state has also insisted in its submissions that the High Court has no jurisdiction to hear and grant Mr. Malanji and Lusambo the reliefs they sought, among them that the court orders ECZ to hold fresh nominations. And the Electoral Commission of Zambia has also told the court in its submissions that it cannot be faulted for rejecting their nomination papers, insisting that it discharged its mandate and received the nomination papers of the two based on the law at the time, thus urging the court to dismiss the petition as ECZ followed the relevant law in rejecting the nomination papers, such as the Constitutional and the Electoral Process Act. However, in their defense, the duo, through their lawyers Makebi Zulu and Tutwanguluwe, have argued that to suggest that there was a specific law at the time nominations were rejected, ECZ agrees that it misinterpreted the law. Mr. Zulu has also submitted that Article 72(4) has been interpreted by the Constitutional Court, and the High Court ought to decide whether the determination by the returning officer was right or wrong. After hearing submissions and arguments from all parties, For close to 3 hours, the Lusaka High Court has reserved judgment to the 20th of September 2022. In this case, Mr. Malanji and Lusambo have petitioned the Electoral Commission of Zambia and seek the court's declaration that they are eligible to contest the by-elections in the two respective constituencies. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Well, that news item brings us to the end of Camnet TV Midday News, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. The Lusaka woman whose hand was amputated due to a fake family planning injection demands for justice. Court of Appeal says BOWMAN, Sambo and Malanji case. Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Good afternoon.